No wonder some people don't want to come back to work. It's not meaningful for them to be there. We haven't made that environment meaningful for them either by engaging them and helping them to feel in on things. And if you don't do those kinds of things, organizational behavior will drift, and it will drift away from what your purpose is.
You're listening to the Management Theory Toolbox, your top destination for unlocking the nuanced theories that lie behind sophisticated management and business practices. I'm your host, Travis Mallett, and today we're diving into the entwined realms of strategy and organizational behavior. We've embarked on a quest to understand the world of organizational behavior, or OB, which is a bit like trying to learn a new dance. Just when you think you've got the rhythm, a new step is introduced. In our previous episode, we introduced the concept of organizational behavior. While this topic resonates with many, there are also managers whose glasses are tinted with the green dollars of the bottom line, who may find it a tad challenging to dance to this particular tune. In the complex realm of business, the primary aim is usually clear: generating profits. A business executive deeply attuned to this reality is often striving to do right by their investors, guided by the compass of financial returns. The stakes are high. Bonuses, reputation, even future career moves all dangle in the delicate balance of that ever-important bottom line. And admit it, if you're in management or business ownership, when was the last time you made a decision based solely on the financial impact? And probably around the same time you accidentally tried to push a pull-only door. But where does organizational behavior fit in? To the unacquainted, it might seem like an abstract art form in the straightforward world of business equations, a squishy, feel-good topic invented by those unfamiliar with the ruthlessness of the business world. Why invest in company culture, cultivate employee emotions, or reevaluate hiring strategies when competitors are lurking, ready to pounce? After all, no one wants to be the company caught tying their shoelaces in a 100-meter dash. However, managers nursing the assumption that strategy and competitive advantage operate in different universes than organizational behavior might be in for a surprise. That's our topic for today. How does strategy relate to organizational behavior? And can OB truly offer a competitive advantage that provides tangible benefits to your bottom line? Let's begin with a quick thought experiment. When you hear the word strategy, what springs to mind? For many of us, it's the timeless game of chess, the silent dance of pawns and kings, each move meticulously planned, eyeing the ultimate checkmate. And a quick Google search shows tons of articles comparing business strategy to the game of chess. To be a successful business leader, think like a chess player. Seizing the middle, chess strategy in business. How chess can make you better at business. And 12 lessons on business strategy from the game of chess.
Chess teaches us to look at different scenarios. During a game of chess, depending on if you move the bishop or the rook, a whole different situation might unfold in front of you. The entire game changes, the entire board changes. And so too, in the business world, any move that you make, any investment that you make, any decision that you make might unfold an entire different scenario. Learning how to play chess also teaches us managers and leaders how to identify patterns. So if you want to become a better manager, if you want to become a better leader, take out a chessboard, move some pieces around, and learn how to play chess.
Chess is the ultimate intellectual game. Being a great chess player requires superb strategic abilities, planning, calculation, pattern recognition, and making good trades. All these skills can be directly translated to business.
In the game of chess, the average chess player knows their next 1 to 3 moves. A grandmaster knows their next 11 to 15 moves. Most people live life, they have no clue what their next 10 moves are going to be. Your strategies is what need tell. So let's talk about it. This whole game about business is about you knowing your next 15 moves. So what's your game plan? Who are you going to be? How are you going to make your money?
But when you pause and think about it, real life strategy is less straightforward. In chess, your pieces move without questioning your genius or lack thereof. They don't retreat when placed in harm's way or abandon their post when they're sacrificed for the greater good. And last I checked, Rooks don't post passive-aggressive comments on Glassdoor about the quality of your leadership. To rephrase this on the positive side, in chess, your pieces also don't go above and beyond, taking on additional challenges when properly motivated. They don't creatively contribute to the strategy, and they don't offer valuable feedback based on what they're seeing on the ground. They're just cogs in the organizational machine, mechanical objects with no human complexity. But this mentality of treating people as merely chess pieces that should serve our personal or business needs might be even more disastrous than just overlooking the complexities of our business strategy.
Chess teaches you everything you need to know about life. You've got all the pieces around you. You've got your queen, your most important piece. That's the woman you choose in your life. So you'd have a good queen. Queen needs to be in a good place, and she needs to obey the king. You've got your brothers, you've got your boys, you've got your knights and bishops and rooks. And those are the people who you really care about and the strongest pieces on your board. And you got pawns. Pawns are people who work for you or work with you, or people who aren't particularly loyal to you, but they're loyal to a paycheck that you're providing. You got to put everyone in the right place. You got to win the game.
That was Andrew Tate, a self-proclaimed misogynist who created a firestorm of controversy over his opinions, especially his opinions regarding women. And that attitude of treating people as pawns in his chess game may have led him to some darker places.
Prosecutors in Romania have filed formal charges against the controversial influencer Andrew Tate, his brother Tristan, and 2 Romanian associates.
Details of graphic evidence compiled by Romanian prosecutors. Both Andrew Tate and his brother are facing trial in Romania for human trafficking and forming an organized criminal group with 2 other defendants.
Now, I want to be clear, I'm not suggesting that finding parallels between business strategy and chess ultimately leads to psychopathy, racism, or misogyny. Undoubtedly, chess shares some characteristics with business strategy, since both have players competing for the win and require deep thinking and prediction ability. But it's clear that this view of organizations as machines, strategy as a chess game, and employees as pieces in the game overlooks some incredibly important aspects of the business world. Reality is a touch more intricate. You may be guessing where this is going. Organizational behavior is a significant component of business strategy. To help us further explore this topic, we're joined by Dr. Ken Baylor. Dr. Baylor, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Travis. Glad to be here and appreciate the privilege of contributing.
We're thrilled to have you. Before we start, tell our listeners about your background and work.
I had a very good executive career with a couple of companies that we scaled up quickly to multi-billion-dollar organizations. And after completing that, I transitioned to my encore career in teaching and been teaching for about 10 years and at Harvard for the past 5.
And I'll just add for our listeners, since they can't see your video, Dr. Baylor has hanging behind him in his office more degrees and certificates than I can even count.
I have a friend that told me one time that I had more degrees than a thermostat. So
we're honored to have someone with your educational and professional background in today's episode. So we're talking about the relationship between organizational behavior and strategy. And sometimes I think managers get so focused on the bottom line or on navigating their strategy that they might sweep organizational behavior under the rug as this wishy-washy, fuzzy topic that's not as important as surviving in the ruthless business world. But I think there's probably a lot more to that story. Maybe you can help us unpack this and start by telling us, what are some components of competitive advantage?
Competitive advantage is that unique set of activities that distinguishes your organization from others. That is the key piece, is to be different. There's trade-offs and there's competitive avoidance, blue ocean type of things. But in the end, we're trying to satisfy our customers' jobs to be done. And we want to retain those customers. Operational effectiveness is a key component of strategic advantage and competitive advantage because it gives you a cost of management that exceeds your competitors. And also the increased efficiencies in logistics can give you a competitive advantage as well.
On a surface level, that seems to align with what many managers probably feel. Strategy is all about these efficiencies and creating a space in the market based on your product's differences. So where does organizational behavior fit in? Are those just 2 completely different topics that don't really overlap?
Absolutely not. I think that organizational behavior is fundamental to the operational efficiencies and the execution side of the business. If I were to look at this, and there's a great article by Roger Martin, The Execution Trap, where he talks about strategy is the brain, but execution is the hands that go into it. I would see organizational behavior as the heart of the business. This goes to the culture. This goes to our values, how we do things around here. And that is critical to being able to sustain any competitive advantage or to effectuate a strategy of any kind. And the alignment of those resources goes beyond just our relationships with our vendors and our suppliers and our customers, and to are we developing the skills of our workforce, our core competencies, our learning within the organization. Do we have an agility associated with that as well, which is important? And it also kind of backs us up to job one, if you will, in organizational behavior. And that is making sure that we have the right people on the bus in the right seats. That is absolutely essential. There's no championship coach that won a championship with bad players. And it's very important to get the right folks on the bus that fit your culture and are treated in a fair way once they come on board. It's that critical thinking that is essential to the organizational behavior.
Would you say that it's possible to differentiate not just on particular product or service features, but on organizational behavior itself? Maybe choosing your human capital in such a way that it's different from competitors, or creating a workplace culture that attracts more high-quality talent. Can we use organizational behavior as a differentiator in and of itself?
Absolutely, Travis. I think the organizations that don't spend the rigor to bring the right people on board, get them in the right place. I'll tell you some interesting statistics that I spoke about with the CEO Summit the other day. The numbers are abysmal when it comes down to things like including people in what the strategy is. I mean, it's like 7% of the people are involved, and maybe 32% are actually engaged in the organization and know what their job is, what they're actually supposed to do, and do they have the right tools and equipment to execute on their assignments. And that came out of a recent report by Gallup in a book called Culture Shock that came out in May 2023. So these are new documents. And it also takes me back to no wonder some people don't want to come back to work. It's not meaningful for them to be there. We haven't made that environment meaningful for them either by engaging them and helping them to feel in on things. And if you don't do those kinds of things, organizational behavior will drift, and it will drift away from what your purpose is. And you've got to keep everyone focused on why we're here. Do you want to be here? Is this the place where you can fulfill your own intrinsic needs? One of the examples that I've gravitated to is when President Kennedy was visiting NASA, and he came upon a janitor, and he asked the janitor during this tour, "What is it that you do here?" And the janitor said, "I'm helping to put a man on the moon." And I think that was keeping everybody aligned with the purpose of what they were doing there, regardless of their assignment. And I don't look at things as being my job, your job, my title. To me, titles are like noses. Everybody's got one, and who cares? We're all trying to accomplish something, but we all have a different assignment or responsibility. And let's just look at our work in that fashion. And the janitor is just as important as the person at the top of the house.
What common mistakes do businesses make when trying to meld the principles of organizational behavior with strategy?
The mistake is that they don't include their people. They see them as employees as opposed to contributors to the organization, and they don't include them. Those are the people that really have to carry out. We limit it to the senior executives and maybe people in the boardroom, but we don't take it down to the people who have to execute. I explained to the CEO group the other day that I was with, if I had a choice between a great CEO or a great team of first-line supervisors, I'll take first-line supervisors every single time. I'm reminded of a story about Abraham Lincoln that was told by Colin Powell. There was a dispatch given to President Lincoln that said the Confederates have captured 100 of our horses and one general. And reportedly, Lincoln responded, "It's too bad about those horses." And the messenger said, "Well, what about the general?" And Lincoln responded, "I can make a general in 5 minutes, but I can't find 100 horses." And I think it's the importance of the people on the shop floor, if you will, that have to be better included in understanding. To me, there's no worse day at work than going to work not knowing what you're supposed to do and trying to look busy during the day. That's no fun.
So I won't hold you to any predictions here, but given the rapid changes in today's business environment, how do you foresee the relationship between organizational behavior and strategy evolving? What should we be looking forward to or focusing on going forward?
Well, I'll give you kind of a straight line answer on that. I don't think the fundamentals will change at all. I think that the circumstances may change. One of the things that I was reading the other day was Edgar Schein made a comment. He was a professor at MIT and the champion of organizational behavior and culture within organizations, wrote many books on it. And he said, one of the things that we have forgotten, because so many of our leadership concepts and theories were developed back in the 50s and 60s, that we've kind of forgotten that those fundamentals obtain even today. Sometimes we talk about our contemporary circumstances and we think, well, this is a new leadership concept. When some of them go back to Sun Tzu and biblical origin, servant leadership, for example, authentic leadership was something that was talked about when we were talking about transformational leadership. So I think that the concepts won't change. I think the fundamentals of strategy and execution will remain the same. It's how we apply them in different circumstances and the selection of the arrows in our quiver that will make the difference, and the judgment that we use in which ones that we pull out of there. I think that people, no matter what, all have a common denominator. They want to do well. They want to be good at work. And somewhere between their desire and our management practices, we sever that relationship and people become disenchanted with us. And I think it's up to us as leader managers to make sure that we don't sever that relationship, that we include them in the decision making. And we learn to say a couple things that many aren't want to say. And that is, I don't know, you're better at this than me. You take the lead, and have that self-confidence to allow them to step forward and be authentic in their own leadership talents. Frankly, CEOs put too much pressure on themselves to be that all-knowing, all-telling brain at the top of the organizational chart. And I think they have all of these resources available to them. The great CEOs understand that their talents are incomplete, that they need complementary talents associated with them. And that's their staff then, their senior staff around them. But beyond that, there are people on the concrete floor, if you will, as opposed to the carpeted floor, who really are out there interacting with the customer and one another and our vendors and suppliers. What are they hearing? What are they seeing? If I were to have a choice between sending 10,000 surveys out to get some feedback or a CEO going to visit 10 of my customers and spending an hour or two with each of them, I would take those interviews every single time. They've got to get out into the field. They've got to get out on the shop floor. You got to get out of your office and find out what is on people's minds. And there are many, many, many good ideas out there. We shouldn't hire a person and ask them to check their brain at the door. We should ask them to come in and give us their talents and share them with us. And we don't have to accept everything. We don't have to agree with everything. There's some things we can't do and some things we will do and some things we simply don't want to do. But let's keep everybody in play as to where their thoughts and ideas fit in those categories. No one of us is as smart as all of us, so let's take advantage of all the brains that we have in the organization and quit putting so much pressure on that one person at the top.
Excellent. Before we wrap up, what would you say is one of the most important aspects of OB that we should pay attention to when thinking about strategy and competitive advantage?
I think that you make a very good target of organizational behavior. I think that we take it for granted that it'll fall into a place by itself, but there has to be that influence with a purpose. There's no separating strategy or operational effectiveness or execution from the behavior of the organization and the people and the values they bring to the organization. And in that hiring process, we should make sure that the person we're bringing in wants to be there. not just have a job, a continuance commitment, so to speak, because it's close to home or whatever. I understand people take jobs for that reason. But what I want is an effective commitment. I want people to say, I want to be here because I believe in this type of work. I believe in this organization. I want to contribute. So the hiring process, I really can't emphasize enough. That is the most important thing that you have to do. You'll never be any better than your subordinates. And one last anecdote, Nick Saban, the coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide, which is one of my favorite teams, when he left the Miami Dolphins, the athletic director, as the legend goes, asked him, do you think you hired the best coach in the nation? And the athletic director said, yes, I do. And he said, well, you're wrong. You hired the best recruiter in the nation. And I think rather than viewing things as a hiring process, we should look at it as a recruiting process and to get the right people that fit with our organization. Jim Collins in his book, Good to Great, speaks of getting the right people on the bus in the right seats. I don't think there's anything more critical than that as a starting point for any organization.
Well, thank you very much for helping us unpack the relationship between strategy and competitive advantage. Before we sign off, can you tell our listeners how they can find you and your work?
Absolutely. You can find me at Harvard or my website at www.advanced-leadership.com, or I'm on LinkedIn and you can find me there. Anytime I can be of assistance to anyone who may hear this, I'm more than happy to do it. And Travis, I can't thank you enough for inviting me for the opportunity.
Thank you. Take care. All right, let's dive deeper into the fabric of competitive advantage. This coveted business component, which leaders relentlessly chase to stay ahead in the marketplace, essentially hinges on differentiation. And by differentiation, I'm referring to that unique blend of value our products or services offer to customers, something distinctive, superior, or set apart from what competitors bring to the table. Occasionally, we see products or services so groundbreaking that they're in a league of their own, introducing us to previously non-existent markets. We call these blue ocean strategies, a topic that we'll talk about in a later episode. Remember the iPhone or Cirque du Soleil, which we touched on in episode 4? Both epitomize exemplary blue ocean strategies, blending a fresh array of features to unlock a brand new marketplace. Yet when dissecting our offerings versus what competitors serve up and brainstorming innovative angles to stand out or appeal to a new demographic, that's still just scratching the surface. Regular listeners will know that we never settle for standard textbook answers here at the Management Theory Toolbox. We're on a quest to uncover the layers beneath. Let's ponder, what's the magic behind the products we unveil to our audience? What sways our customers towards us? What ignites their need for our product? Dive into the realm of structuralism, a philosophical lens to untangle these threads. Although it may not be as trendy as its counterparts like post-structuralism or deconstruction today, it's still a gem for our exploration. To discover this, let's travel back about 200 years. Picture 19th century France, clouded in perplexity.
In what way did he wrong you?
With his dirty hands, he gave her fever. Childbed fever. But you can't blame a doctor for that.
A wave of illnesses, deteriorating wines, and prematurely spoiling milk. An unseen adversary seemed to wreak havoc. Amidst this confusion emerges a chemist, a figure of relentless inquiry and astute observation.
He's a mere chemist.
A chemist? You don't say.
You remember a few years ago he was the cause of a slight controversy on the subject of sour wine?
Oh, yes, I recall.
He claimed to have found little animals in it, infinitesimal beasts.
But are there such creatures? Do they really exist?
Your Majesty, microscopic organisms have long been observed. They spring into being of their own accord wherever there's putrid matter or fermentation. They're the result rather than the cause of disease.
Dismissing the beliefs attributing decay and disease to divine acts or natural spontaneity, he dared to challenge the status quo.
Dr. Charbonnet could see them for himself. he took the trouble to use his microscope. He could watch them multiply into murderous millions. They breed in filth. They may start from the gutters of Paris tonight and by tomorrow claim some mother from this very car. Preposterous.
That, my friends, was Louis Pasteur, as vividly captured by Paul Mooney in the 1936 film The Story of Louis Pasteur. Pasteur, a staunch believer in the determinism of nature, made a groundbreaking discovery. Peering through his microscope, he was introduced to a world teeming with minuscule life forms, or microbes, omnipresent in the environment, in our food, and even in the most exquisite wines. An epiphany dawned upon him. Could these minuscule beings be responsible for the prevailing chaos? Determined to confirm his hypothesis, Pasteur embarked on rigorous experiments. The revelation was profound. Airborne microbes were the culprits. Pasteur's insight was transformative, reshaping our perception of illness and decay, which were no longer dismissed as mere chance events. They had a discernible origin: germs. This breakthrough flung open pathways to combat a spectrum of diseases. Louis Pasteur, with his unparalleled tenacity and pioneering spirit, shed light on a realm previously uncharted. He didn't merely decode the enigma of perishable food and drink, but laid the cornerstone for contemporary medicine. What is structuralism? Imagine a complex puzzle. Each piece, unique and distinct, holds value. But it's only when these pieces interlock that a complete picture emerges. Similarly, in the business world, understanding the underlying structures of patterns can offer more profound insights into success and failure. Let's explore how this philosophical concept applies to business differentiation. Structuralism plunges deep into the vast ocean of human culture, viewing its many components as interrelated facets of a broader network. One isolated element, whether a cultural ritual or a business practice, gains its full meaning when viewed in connection to others. Philosopher Simon Blackburn believes that to truly grasp human life's nuances, we must understand how individual phenomena intersect and influence one another. If we consider a solitary dance and then an orchestra, while outwardly different, structuralism looks for the rhythms and patterns resonating within both. Applying this to the corporate landscape, we see that differentiation for competitive advantage is only the tip of the iceberg. At the Management Theory Toolbox, we delve deeper. We probe not just why some companies thrive, but what foundational structures foster that differentiation. A key element? Organizational behavior. Just like Pasteur's microbes were found to be the cause of many diseases, it's the organization's people, the human capital, that spark innovation and drive operational excellence. If a company's products mirror its people, then harnessing human capital can offer a unique competitive advantage. Now, if you're a business leader always striving for product differentiation, consider this shift in perspective. Instead of continuously applying differentiation band-aids to banal products, why not change the source of your business's products? What if you nurtured a culture that prioritized employee satisfaction, innovation, and creativity? If your enterprise could attract talent unparalleled by competitors, wouldn't your products naturally stand out? This line of thought brings us to a systematic answer: human capital's role in competitive advantage. Human capital simply means the skills, knowledge, and attributes of an organization's individuals. Its potential lies in its value, rarity, and how challenging it is to replicate. Value gauges an individual's capability to handle fundamental tasks. Rarity evaluates how unique the collective skills are within an industry. For example, sales associates at Nordstrom have several qualities that are relatively rare in the retailing industry. For one, they are highly educated. Nordstrom specifically targets college graduates for its entry-level positions. They also provide a strong incentive-based compensation system, paying much higher than the industry average, and cultivate a culture of associates going above and beyond for customers, providing acts of, quote, heroic service. Lastly, imitability measures the replicability of the skills by the competitors. For example, A competing retailer could also target college graduates and use similar compensation structures, but the skills and talents that are most difficult to imitate are usually those that are complex and learned inside a particular organization. Though value, rarity, and imitability are pivotal, they aren't standalone solutions. Organizations must also ensure that their human resources are motivated, supported, and aptly trained. If you're an entrepreneur or a manager focused on the bottom line, then you're in luck. There is a way to predictably improve the bottom line and increase competitive advantage. But it's not easy. And that's why we're going to be continuing our journey of organizational behavior, so that next time you're faced with a decision that affects the bottom line, you can also consider the multitude of related organizational behavior factors and tools needed to sustain that competitive advantage. With that, thank you for tuning in to the Management Theory Toolbox, your top destination for the behind the scenes of management and business theory. As always, each episode is based on the latest and most robust management theory, and you can download the show notes to find references and learn more. And join us next time for a deeper exploration of organizational behavior and its relation to positive psychology. In the meantime, keep learning, keep growing, and keep building your management theory toolbox.